to Heart, Mia Moore. I am Coach Charletta, and this is,
Hi y'all, I'm Elle.
and we're glad to have you here on our show to hear our heart. We love to share from our heart to your heart. You will hear anything from day to day life or
Random TikTok sounds. If you know, you know.
so we're just going to share some of the things that will hopefully open up conversations and bring healing to many families. So today we're going to start with
So we're gonna talk about just the intro to adult life, man. 4 years out of high school does not feel like 4 years. It feels like 6 months approximately. We're gonna give you the breakdown of that weird segue into your 20s. And for those of you who are in your 20s, and we're gonna give some advice, and I'm gonna get some advice because I got questions that I need answers, and if you're in the same place as me, you might be able to benefit from that as well.
okay, so tell me, coming out of high school, what did it feel like? Like preparing yourself to graduate. And as a matter of fact, you graduated during the pandemic. So that time of life was really awkward for you. So kind of give us and the audience an idea of what it was like, what are some of the things that you were processing because everything was different during that time frame.
Um, quite frankly, I was mad because it was spring break. It was like, all right, we going on spring break. Yay, we come back. We got a senior trip, prom, getting out of school early because we're seniors and we can leave. No finals. I was looking forward to that. And then I was like, oh, we're going to extend spring break for another week. And that week ended up being forever. So it was pretty, it was hurtful. But I will say in that process of, I was just trying to survive because I was bored in the house with my parents. My sister wasn't home, so it's just me with my parents, and it was just a little awkward. So I didn't really have a choice but to build a relationship with my mother and my parents. But I spent a lot of time Netflix, TikTok, um, doing little challenges and things. But as far as figuring out what I want to do in that time period, I really didn't know. It was just whatever could get me as far away from here as possible.
I remember during that time you would say, you wanted to go to school in Colorado, you wanted to go to school in California. But during that time frame, where was your mindset when you were applying for college? What were your thoughts as to what did you think your profession would be? What would you share with other young people that are seniors, upcoming seniors, the type of things that you faced? So what would you share with them?
So honestly, when I started, it was just whatever I felt like I could do at the moment. So I think the first thing I said I wanted to do was I wanted to be an anesthesiologist. I wanted to work in like the hospitals and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I started taking classes that summer, and it was not it. I don't like science like that. I don't want to be doing math classes all the time. It's not for me. I love math. I like science to a certain degree. I don't like it like that. So I changed from that to, I want to say, education. And education was just easy because I'm around kids all the time. I'm really good with kids. So it just was just something, just resting on what I already know. Now, advice I would give is find out what your talents are. Don't be in a rush to go to college because college is not for everybody. It was not for me. It is not for me. Me and college don't get along. It's great for some people. The structure works for some people. Then there are people like me who would prefer to work with their hands and interact with people. So media works for me. Um, Massage works for me. Doing makeup and hair works for me. Stuff like that works for me and my personality type. So understanding your personality type and what you are really passionate about and what you want to be able to do with what you learn matters.
I find it interesting that you say to find out what you're passionate about, because thinking about when I graduated high school, my thought was, okay, I'm just going to go to college. Did I really have anything in mind that I wanted to do at that point? No, I didn't have anything in mind. Only thing I knew was my parents were like, you're going to go to college. So I went through that process of, okay, I'm going to go to college. Mom is a nurse, so I'm going to try to be a nurse. I did that path for a little while. Then it was like, if people die, I don't know, emotionally, can I handle it? So I changed quite often what I was going to school for. And then for myself, I don't know about you, but for myself, after a while, I decided that no, right now, college isn't the best thing for me right now. So I worked because I've always worked. Um, so I just did my regular job in management, and I went from there. I just kind of stepped away from it at some point. So in the process for you, did you choose like to go to work? Because in my house, with my parents, you was gonna go to college, you was gonna work a job, you was not gonna sit in their house and just do absolutely nothing. You was not gonna be willy-nilly living your best life on their dime. So in your mindset, um, what were your thoughts? Like, were you thinking I need to work, or but you always worked because like you started working in high school,
I
like
was
when you were
14.
14, you started working at
Yep.
14. Um, so like at that point, because you quit working your senior year so that you can enjoy your senior activity. So with the pandemic being there, you're processing, this isn't kind of what I want to do. So where did what was your thoughts? Were you fearful? Like, how did you feel like, or what did you think about being able to come and talk to us and share where you were?
Honestly, during high school, my senior year was a little different than most people, obviously, because pandemic, but also with me considering college and leaving for college,
Mm-hmm.
I had to take in consideration to the fact that I was pregnant. So that was something that I had to think about as a senior and where I was going. So that factored more so into anything else. Which is a fun fact for most people who don't know that. So you know me in real life, now you know.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, so that slid by, and
life happens, man. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, bash people for it. Hey, life happens, things happen. It happened, man. You can do all the right things and it still happens. So don't beat yourself up for it if it happens to you. I mean, you could avoid it by not doing it in general, but that's for you to decide. But for me, as far as like being a senior and things like that, that was my thought process because I had already finished all the schoolwork. I just had to graduate, but because of the pandemic, we weren't just going like that. But that also played a part into what schools I went to and what I actually like really tried for. Because a lot of the schools that I wanted to go to, I didn't apply for simply because of the fact that I was, and I didn't want to have to worry about balancing all of those things.
that was a lot to process. Um, on this end, just to even hear that and to even find out, because I didn't know any of that, and you kept it pretty well. So even with, okay, you dealt with that, being a prospective parent at the time, but even just the fears, like what were your fears? What were your concerns as far as school, and what do you really choose to do as far as what did you want for yourself? What did you see for yourself in your future?
So for me, Now I have to put myself back into that person because, you know, um, I really just wanted something that I could do every day that was gonna take care of me.
Hmm.
That way I didn't have to depend on other people because that's one thing I don't like to do at all. Is to constantly have to be like, can I do this? Can I do that? And be a burden on other people when I know that other people have things going on. So I wanted to do something that was gonna be able to take care of me and mine. Now as far as fears, I was terrified of what my parents were gonna say. Um, I had no idea which way it was gonna go. Uh, I didn't know what my pastor was gonna say. I didn't know what anybody was gonna say about anything. So I just kind of kept everything close to me and just kind of moved as that went and played it by ear. Um, what else? As far as schooling wise, I wasn't too worried about like actually going to school. I did a couple classes that summer and was perfectly fine. I did good. Um, but yeah, that definitely was just more so worried about the social aspect of things versus like actually doing school. School wasn't really too much of an issue. It just wasn't what I wanted to do.
Okay, so let's fast forward to today. Okay, so that was high school. We are now 4 years down the line. And what is your processing concerning being an adult?
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give again as far as picking and choosing a career and discovering yourself in this space?
Don't listen to the people around you. Um, your parents, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, your sister, your brother, whoever. Don't listen to the people around you. Listen to yourself and what you feel is best for you. They may feel like they know best, but you know you better than anybody else. So when it comes to like schooling, um, I had a lot of people that felt like they knew what was best for me. So it was, oh, you need to go to school to be a teacher because your mom was a teacher, or your aunt's a teacher, or your cousin's a teacher. Go to school to be a teacher. I wanted at one point I wanted to be an interior designer, um, and I was always told that's not a girl's job. Fun fact, it is, and you can make a lot of bank for it. Um, but I was always told, girls don't do that. Girls aren't archaeologists. Girls don't do that. Yes, they do. Shout out to Lizzie. She's phenomenal at it. Um, but they tell you these things, and you take that. I took it to heart. A lot of the things that was told to me, and I had to kind of knock off those things. So listen to yourself and what you feel like you really want to do. And research every last job that you think you want to have. Research everything, not just how much money you're making,
Mm-hmm.
because you may be making that amount, but how's that going to affect your mental health? How's that going to affect your day to day? How's that going to affect how you interact with your family, when you can interact with your family? um what are your values? What's most important to you? Is it the money? Is it the freedoms that come with the money?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's the freedoms, then you're not going to want a job that you're working 12 to 15 hours a day,
Right.
or 24 hours or 48 hours. I mean, if that's you, you got it. But you got to take into consideration what you value most.
Very good. It made me think about several things. But before I get into what it made me think about, we're going to pause for a brief moment so that we can have some commercials and get the bills paid, and then we'll be right back. Thank you for joining us. Hey, you. Yes, you. I know life is lifing, and sometimes you feel like, what am I going to do? Well, listen, when you feel like, hey, I'm stuck, I don't know how to get from here to there, well, guess what? Give me a call. Coach Charletta at Masterpiece Services and Solutions at 904-274-0947. Let's work together. Let's find the tools that will help you come up with solutions to your problem. And we're back. So to continue and pick up where you were, it made me think about choices and decisions that I made at some point in life. And some of you, it doesn't matter where you are, be you 18, 20, 21, 45, 50, or whatever, wherever you may be on your journey, you may be in a place of trying to decide what it is that I want to do. And listening to you say, don't listen to what everybody is speaking in your ear. Learn to listen to yourself. And it made me think about the question, what helped you get to hearing yourself? Did hearing other people say negative things about what you desired to do make you doubt yourself? Did it make you second guess everything that you did? Like, what things did it bring for you? Because for me, I know at one point in time, I felt like school was a must. I got to be able to take care of me. I got to be able to do this, this, and this. And if I don't, I didn't feel like I was succeeding in life.
Mm-hmm.
So learning to get over that for myself,
Mm-hmm.
how was it for you?
For me, it was a process. So just to kickstart my process, I lost my kid. So I was at the bottom. I really didn't care. School, bump it. I got my own personal issues to deal with. School is gonna be there. I can go back to school. I can do it whenever I so choose.
Mm-hmm.
So school wasn't really a priority for me at that moment. It was more so just kind of processing all of the emotions and the feelings. And then telling my parents about that and, the people involved with it. And processing through that with them. And then getting to a point where, all right, now I'm ready to let's tackle school and let's figure out, okay, well, who are you? And for me, I second guessed a lot of things. Like, am I really capable of doing things? Because I couldn't even do that right. And it's where you start to question just your existence in general.
Mm-hmm.
What am I made for? Billie Eilish has a beautiful song from Barbie. If you've seen the movie, you understand the song and how powerful it is if you're a Billie fan. Billie Eilish is the song "What Am I Made For?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's a real question that most people in that first year and a half right after high school. That's your question. Is what am I even here for?
Mm-hmm.
There's no one telling me what to do, especially when if you go off to college. You're by yourself for the first time in your life, and you're quite literally trying to figure out, what am I doing with my life?
True.
Who am I? Okay, this is what my friends are doing. These are what everybody back home is telling me to do. But do I agree with that? You're just kind of in this, I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, you're never going to know what you're doing. I don't care how put together your life is. You genuinely have no idea. You're winging it. You may have some understanding, but you're never going to know everything. There's always going to be someone to teach you something. So don't ever think you can't learn anything, because you can't.
Yeah.
But as far as figuring out, that, I spent a lot of time reading. I made a conscious choice to read. So now I'm back to being a bookworm. I started reading, going through 15 books roughly a month. I was just reading. Netflix, Hulu, any of that, I wasn't watching it. I don't really like watching TV anymore. Books are better. They have more details. And you can really get into it. But I really started reading to better myself and trying things. So I went to massage school. I got all the way to the end. Did something tragic happen? Yeah. But in massage school, I learned a lot about myself. I learned how to deal with people. I learned a lot of wisdom from the clients that I had. One lady, I'll never forget her. She taught me. She said, "You can't sink a boat with water. The only way you can sink a boat with water is if water gets in the boat. But you need water to live. So take what's necessary, throw out the rest, so you don't drown."
That was good advice.
It stuck with me since then, and it's just something I use every day. When I'm listening to other people, or I'm talking to someone, even if I'm talking to a friend of mine, I'm like, hey, I don't have the mental capacity for this, because it's overloading and I can't do it, and just to understand what that means.
That's good, because it makes me also think about When I was in that space of going to school, deciding to work, and it's one thing when you've been raised a certain way. Like for me, I started working at 13, so all the way through high school, getting up to college, I've always worked. At one point, I worked 2 jobs, and what I learned about myself was my jobs was my identity. So even if I didn't go to college, I was good because as long as I had the ability to work and make people happy, I would be okay. But I realized in that space and time, now that I look back, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I really didn't know what I wanted to go to college for. I did know one thing, because I grew up working in my father's business. I wanted a degree in business education. So it helped me to think in that path for a little bit. And then I wanted to own a daycare. Then I finally went into education. And once I went into education, it opened up a whole new world. But it took me years to get back to go to school. Like, I quit going to college at the age of 19. I went back to school at the age of 27. So sometimes it takes that gap. Sometimes it takes you maturing and learning what you like, what you don't like, what it is that you really want to pursue in life. And I'm going to say to any of you, I don't care how old you are, if you want to change your pattern or change your degree or change whatever you want to work in, follow your heart. Don't do a degree or a job just because somebody told you to and you're miserable. That's the worst thing that you could do to yourself. Love yourself enough to trust yourself, to follow your dreams. That's what I would say to you. Do you have any lasting things that you want to say with our audience before we wrap up this session?
Last words. I would say trust your gut. Don't go with your head. Don't necessarily go with your heart, but trust your gut. Your gut is gonna tell you right away whether something's for you or it's not. Whether that's in relationship with people or figuring out what school you want to go to or what career path you want to take. Trust your gut. When you step into a place, you're gonna know right off the bat if this is for you or if it's not. You know that feeling when you walk into a place and it just feels like something's off here. That's not the place for you. Trust that feeling and don't push past it.
Great advice. So, with that said, we would like to say thank you for watching Heart to Heart Mia Moore, where it's from our heart to your heart. Have a great one.